Hi, Mohammed. Where you at? I can't hear you.
No, it's still on my property line. It's in my driveway.
Still can't hear you.
Anyway.
Sign language it.
It's like, so it's cut into,
Is he? Can't hear you.
Can you hear us? Mohammed, you're looking good today. Can you hear today?
like they're taller.
Yeah, I saw somebody in
Yeah,
your house.
no, not a spruce, not a spruce. A cedar, the little flat. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so, yeah, and they are growing. And last time I came, so I was like, I don't know. So I replanted it.
Oreo week.
I know.
Yeah. I should remember. Yeah.
I like to wear Crocs around the house. My friend sent me a picture of Croc cowboy boots. Like if that meant that
Yeah, I was gonna say. Yeah, that would go over really well in Yellowstone. Yeah, yeah.
I dare you. I haven't even dared to order them. Yeah.
We'll order them for you.
Blue or something.
I saw Marissa has your favorite color on here.
Still can't hear you.
Amy, how come you never zoomed in last week?
You guys didn't have a meeting when I was gone, I don't think.
Good afternoon and welcome to our regular council meeting for June 5th, 2023. At this time, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional territories and the oral practices of the Blackfoot Nation, which include the Siksika, the Kainai, and the Piikani. We also acknowledge the Tsuut'ina, the Stoney Nakoda First Nations, the Métis Nation Region 3, and all people who make their homes in the Treaty 7 region of southern Alberta. We're making this acknowledgement to demonstrate our continuing efforts to work together as we strive for reconciliation through increased and collective learning. Before we get our meeting started, some staff introductions. Natasha.
Hello, everyone. Through the chair to mayor and council, I'd like to introduce to you two staff. The first one is Chase Moeg, and he is recently hired as our Recreation Operator 1. He started on May 8th and moved here from Penticton, BC, where he was working as a facility operator. He comes to us with 5 years of experience working in arenas, and he loves sports, especially hockey. Perfect. We're happy to have him here and welcome him to the team in Brooks. And I'd also like to introduce Aaron Larson, who couldn't be here with us today, but he is our new Recreation and Parks Operator, our 60/40. And Aaron just finished some schooling in Nelson, BC. He's moved here to be closer to some of his family living in Brooks. Aaron is a sports enthusiast, having pursued soccer and rugby in his younger years, and is also passionate for basketball. He's eager to learn and excited to get to know the community as well. So I'd like to welcome these two staff.
Welcome to Brooks.
Thank you.
You'll be able to watch some good hockey here with the Brooks Bandits instead of those Penticton Vs there, eh? So, anyway, welcome to Brooks. Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Moved by Councillor Jessica that the agenda be adopted as amended by adding agenda item 6.K, graffiti. All those in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Nesbitt that the minutes from the regular council meeting held May 15th, 2023 be approved. Any errors or omissions? Approval of the minutes. All in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Goodenough that the following items of correspondence be received as information updates on council conferences and or workshops, council committee reports from Councillor Goodenough, Councillor Prentice, and Councillor Jessica, and the accounts payable listing. And we'll go with the council committee reports, and we'll start with Councillor Goodenough. Go ahead.
Thank you to Mayor and Council and our beautiful crowd today. We were recently, Mayor Petrie and I were recently at FCM in Toronto from May 24th to 29th. There we took in different lectures on rural form, finding houses. Also, there was a nominations for board of directors for Alberta representatives. There was 3 open seats. 3 were nominated for our region. For those of you that may not be familiar with FCM, it's basically all the municipalities coming together to make one voice to speak to the federal government. We had different speakers from Justin Trudeau to the NDP to the Conservative Party, sharing their thoughts on how they can better Canada. A few things I wanted to mention, though, that were important, I thought, was the Rural Forum, where we talked about advocating for rural communities and making our city actually stand out when it comes to balancing our resources, our time, and our growth, and the impact. And also part of, I think from when we heard from multiple municipalities throughout Canada, where Mayor Petrie and I had a chance to talk to many representatives, there is, and it's no news to anybody, but the housing crisis is a real crisis, you know, and it's not unique to Brooks, but throughout Canada. And one of the programs that we attended on finding homes, Canada's next generation to affordable housing, was the recommendation was that we as cities and municipalities have to rethink the way we approach housing. That it's no longer wait for bids to come in, but have shovel-ready projects, so that when you can apply for the federal government for grants or for infrastructure funding, is that they're ready to go. And so from what my takeaway was that maybe we have to look as a city and a municipality, even with our county friends, how do we become more attractive to get projects going? And maybe what does the city have to do to make these initiatives, whether it's through infrastructure, water treatment, whatever it is. I think it's almost, my takeaway from it was, you know, you can wait for TELUS and for Shaw to come, or we can just be gutsy enough, like we did with our internet, and start moving forward on that and see what happens. And so just some takeaways. So that was our FCM. It was a great trip, and look forward to doing that again in 4 years. So, because that's when I get to go again. Unless when you guys get sick, I will go. Anyway, Chamber of Commerce, just some updates with that. We had our trade show recently, well attended. It's great to see people out again, businesses, local business, small to large, being a part of that. And it's still in the recovery mode from COVID, and the Chamber would just like to relay again just the thanks for the city for waiving the fees on the JBS Canada Centre. That was much appreciated as we continue to rebuild the program. After that, our director did step down and resigned, so we we're on the look for a new director, and we believe that we'll find one here soon enough, which will again go back to supporting our local businesses and making that stronger for the future. Last thing, just wanted to mention Silver Sage. It is Rodeo Week here in Brooks. We're going to have a great rodeo show. I was hoping before council I'd have an update on the Midway, as many of us are aware, just with the circumstances of the company that was hired outside Edmonton. They've had some problems, but our understanding is that at this time everything is being looked at by health and safety within Alberta and that organization. So we believe it's going to be a safe opportunity for families to get together. And but I don't have a full updated report on that. So that's all for my reports at this time. Thank you.
Okay, good. And thanks to the Silver Sage, you know, for bringing back the rodeo to the full extent. I think everybody's kind of getting excited. We've got the pancake breakfast all this week here. We got the rodeos and the parade and everything on the weekend there too. So really good to have that back. I believe it's one of the biggest events we have in the community annually that brings everybody together in the Brooks Newell region here too. So
yeah, they have a great board, and I'll just say, just to carry on with that, is that with this board, we've got more events happening than we've ever had. and for people from all over southern Alberta and up northern Alberta that want to come to our Silver Sage Corral to do barrel racing, whatever they do for horseback riding stuff. So it's going to be amazing. I'm excited. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Councillor Jessica,
Well, I'll talk fast, I guess.
and microphone.
Thank you. No, so SAWA, the Southern Alberta Energy from Waste Association, so this is not news to any of the council members that a non-disclosure agreement and MOU, initial MOU are being negotiated with Hitachi, Zosen, and Nova to partner to build a waste energy plant at the New Regional Landfill. This is going to be followed by a detailed memorandum of understanding, thanks to the county and the city, and hopefully to a grant for covering that cost, substantial cost. We've been in discussions with Newell Regional Solid Waste about what kind of a relationship we will have for the use of their land for the site, whether a purchase or a lease. And a member strategic planning session was held at the JBS Center to look at where the project is now and how to move it forward. And it was very ably moderated by Lisa and came up with some good direction. So that's moving forward. We need to come up with the full 300,000 tons a year to make the project fly. So we're going to have to start looking at waste contractors. We did meet with Medicine Hat and Lethbridge cities, and another challenge we're working on transport of waste. But this will overcome a big hurdle, and this is a big step going forward. EcoBrooks did have a booth at the Spring Trade Fair. I don't know if any of you have been to the Edible Garden at the south end of Stafford Lake. It was promoted, and we sought input, and it's had some volunteers. It's been planted, so if anybody is going around the lake, go to the very south end close to the shore, and you'll see four flower beds and a raised bed, or 4 garden beds and a raised bed. And so they're all in. We've ordered litter bins for high traffic areas, youth traffic areas at the northwest and northeast corner of the JBS Center block. And we are setting up bi-weekly at the farmers market like we did last year to promote EcoBrooks. And we're continuing to work with Communities in Bloom to organize a 2023 community cleanup. The airport, haven't been any meetings, but there was a fly-in breakfast this last weekend. I was out of town, but I understand it was well attended, something like 25 airplanes, and also there were lots of volunteers to carry it through, so it sounds like it was a good event. Communities in Bloom held their AGM. As executive is unchanged for the coming year, and as was discussed in council, an additional rose bed was prepared on the museum grounds, and it has been planted. We are still working on some new enhancements like a solar feature, a solar flower, a solar tree, possibly one of the entrances in the city. We have to move one of our murals, so we're looking for a location for that. The one on the dry cleaners downtown has to be relocated because that building is for sale. So we have a couple possible places. And we did have some discussion about the amphitheater project, so we'll see about moving that forward. Also was, and the judges, so this year we are going to be judged internationally for Communities in Bloom, and that's July 19th and 20th. So the community cleanup will be scheduled probably for weeknight shortly before this, 1 or 2 weeks before the 19th and 20th. And so as we discussed before, with regionalization, part of the tour will be Dinosaur Park and the Aqueduct. The museum was unsuccessful in their grant applications for summer staff, so that's affected operating hours. I think there still needs to be some discussion on how much impact that will have. Rules for the Kiwanis campsite, policies and rules have been reviewed and upgraded. Annual Mother's Day tea was held. The attendance was down this year. And we are planning to host a fall fair. AGM was held, and as with Community in Bloom, there was no change in the board members. Old Man River Regional Services Corporation, and I see they're represented here today, so I'll have to say only nice things. but what else could I say? The AGM was held in Lethbridge with no change in the executive. And their operating fees, they're a very busy organization that serving communities throughout the province, Southern Alberta. And their operating fees come from membership fees, fee for services, subdivision fees, and plans. And they've done certainly substantial work for us, and we've dealt with Gavin through the Zoom on quite regularly. Post-COVID, there was a recovery of sales, but revenues were down from 2021, so they did show a deficit of 138,843 for last year, and hoping to come out of that in the coming year. So we're supposed to do lots of planning, guys, spend some money. Sign committee, no meetings. Now, the Public Works Administration Building and Shop tenders, so we have the ad hoc committee for that. And we held meetings with two of the engineering firms that are the two prime candidates for the project, and reviewed the tenders, and it's gone back to engineering and Public Works for their final recommendations. And the dog park, this has sort of been there on the side of things, but the dedicated group of volunteers have been working on developing a dog park for north of Harwood Ford. And they've come up with a design and some costs, and we did a site visit last week, and it looks really, really good. So kudos to the team that's been working on that.
Thank you. Councillor Prentice.
Yeah, just a little bit on the new solid waste there, the landfill. White Fox has completed the contract from last year. They couldn't finish it last fall because of the frost and the weather and whatever, so they've got that all cleaned up now, and the seeding has been completed. So that looks really good out there now. And the old scale houses, or the old scales, I should say, are getting pretty bad shape and having lots of problems with them. So we're going to replace the scales, and we're going to put in a new double scale with a new scale house, so that they can have one track in and one track out, which will speed up the stuff. And these people hauling the special waste from Calgary, they're sitting there waiting sometimes for a couple hours to get in. So once that scales get put in there, it'll speed it up. There should be hardly any waste time at all, like to do that. So, and that the scale house has already been ordered. The scales have been ordered, and the roadways, there'll be contracts set up here pretty soon to do the road work and whatever, so that should work really well. And the reason we want to try and put the scales in, it seems like there's so many new things they're talking about with this other landfill being built, that if we improve ours, that it may help a lot too, because it'll speed up the transportation and whatever. And if the scales can also be used, if Sewa or whoever happens to go in, they can still be used. So I don't think it's a waste of it's a fairly expensive project, but I think it'd be well worth it to try and keep as much of that material coming as we can get in our own out there. So that's what's happening there. We expect, hoping to have the work completed maybe by the end of September, so have it going by fall if everything goes right. And stopped in New Original Water. We had our audit this last meeting we had, and there was no recommendations to change any of the operation. It got a good report on it, so that was good to find out. And we're right on schedule with everything for our long-term plans. And we had one filter we had sent in to have it tested to see what life is left in it. It's been 2 months ago we sent that filter in, or they sent it in, I should say. And they've really been dragging their feet on getting it looked at, but they're finally starting to do something with it, I guess. So that once we get the results back from that, that'll tell us exactly how long those filters will last. They've been in there for 13 years now. So hoping to get another few years, and that'll help with the cost, keeps it down. The money is sitting there to replace them, so that's a matter of time. So that's about all I have on that. So yeah.
Okay, good, thank you. I was at FCMN with Councillor Goodenough, and just some, what he talked about is housing. A common theme was the lack of housing right across the nation. It didn't matter who you talked to. People, from Toronto to Moncton, New Brunswick to Brooks, we're all having the same issue here. It was noted that while we're growing through immigration, we're not prepared for it. And the challenges are left up to the municipalities. I believe the amount of immigrants that come to this country is about 500,000 a year, and then it's downloaded right to the municipalities there. It was also noted that the solution should be up to the 3 levels of government, municipal, provincial, and federal. We should collectively, work together to try to solve this. Some of the other challenges about housing they talked about included inflation and interest rates. As inflation and interest rates go up, that means people are paying more for mortgages, which means there's less money elsewhere in the economy to spend. So you have that economic bounce on that one there too. Other challenges they talked about is the growing infrastructure deficit across the country, more people working from home, and the impact that will have on commercial property, and then again, commercial property taxes too. Overall, I don't think, and maybe Councillor Goodenough could agree, no big solutions, but a common problem. But I think all politicians and businesses are aware of it. And I think if you're aware of a problem there, you can kind of work on solutions there. We just need some more time, to build solutions to that there too. Okay. Did Councillor Idris or Councillor Wardrop, did you have anything for that? For the workshops or anything? No. No, you should know. Okay, to the motion, all those in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Prentice that June 21st, 2023 be hereby proclaimed as National Indigenous Peoples' Day in the City of Brooks. Amy.
Thank you. Through the chair to Mayor and Council. On June 13th, 1996, the Governor-General of Canada proclaimed June 21st to be National Aboriginal Day, now known as National Indigenous Peoples' Day. Indigenous peoples, including First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples, gather each year to celebrate and share their culture and heritage on or near June 21st. This day is chosen as it falls, falls on the longest day of the year, which marks the summer solstice. National Indigenous Peoples' Day is a day for individuals to get together and learn more about Indigenous people, and their contributions to Canada. Therefore, administration is recommending June 21st be proclaimed as National Indigenous Peoples' Day in the City of Brooks.
Okay, any questions? Okay, to the motion, all those in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Wardrop that the week of June 19th to the 25th, 2023 be hereby proclaimed as Pollinator Week in the City of Brooks. You got your water?
Me again, sorry. Through the chair to Mayor and Council. Pollinator Week is an annual celebration in support of pollinator health that was initiated and is managed by Pollinator Partnership. It is a time to raise awareness for pollinators and spread the word about what we can do to protect them. Pollinator Partnership will be emphasizing the connections between climate and pollinators. Pollinators are dying because their food and home are disappearing, diseases have increased, and rising temperatures and natural disasters are affecting their ability to survive, all of which are related to climate change. At the same time, the conservation of pollinators and their habitats can help combat climate change by supporting healthy ecosystems, air, soil, water, and plants. Combined, these results make planet Earth a safer place for us to live. The City of Brooks became a Bee City Canada community in 2021, and EcoBrooks works to increase public awareness about the importance of pollinators and annually plans activities to celebrate pollinators during Pollinator Week. Almost made it the whole time, sorry. Therefore, administration is recommending that the week of June 19th to 25th be hereby proclaimed as Pollinator Week in the City of Brooks.
Okay, any questions? Just a comment, a lot of times when the dandelions come out early in the spring, everybody says get rid of them, but for a bee city, we're supposed to actually keep them too, and I knew Councillor Jessica would be able to respond to this for me here. Go ahead.
Okay, well, yes.
Because, go ahead.
The answer is yes and no. There is something called Molus May, and that was the whole idea, but I'm going to have to do a little bit of research on that, because just the other day there was someone speaking on the radio about it and saying that the nutritive value of dandelion pollen is not very high, and so they're of limited benefit, and in fact that if that's all they have to eat, then you'll find that they're short on protein and will even start eating their own eggs. So now when we talk about pollinator, we're not just talking about honeybees, though. We're talking about beetles and hoverflies and wasps and all kinds of things. So I guess as so many other things, the most important thing is to have some diversity. And And so far as the mowing the dandelions, I think I'm going to have to do some more looking into that. But anything that will support the pollinators in a meaningful way is a good thing.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I don't feel as bad now. Okay, to the motion. All those in favor? Carried. I was stalling for time while you get your throat.
Don't forget dandelion wine, too.
Yeah. Moved by Counselor Goodenough that the month of June 2023 be hereby proclaimed as Pride Month in the city of Brooks. Amy.
Okay. Through the chair to mayor and council. During Pride Month, we celebrate victories that have affirmed freedoms and fairness, and we recommit ourselves to completing the work that remains. If we all speak for acceptance, justice, and dignity, hearts and minds continue to change over time, and laws will too. Members from the LGBTQ+ community can surround us locally from our community members, coworkers, friends, and family. The people of the city of Brooks are called upon to eliminate prejudice everywhere it exists and to celebrate the diversity of Canada and our community. Canadians of all backgrounds are invited to learn about, appreciate, and celebrate the exceptional contributions that Canadians of LGBTQ+ backgrounds have made to our country. In honor of this special day, the city of Brooks will be raising a pride flag for the month of June. Therefore, administration is recommending that the month of June 2023 be formally recognized as Pride Month in the city of Brooks.
Okay, any questions? Counselor Goodenough.
This is a great conversation that we're going to have here in a few moments. I support this. I support the LGBT community. I think this is a worthy cause in the month. I'm just curious on, you have a day here, or is it a month that we're raising the flag for clarification? And I'm going to vote against this motion to raising the flag on the premise of, I believe, and we're seeing a growing trend in Canada for municipalities on municipal property to not be raising other flags other than the city, the province, and the country. I brought this up before. I know we don't have a bylaw that says that, and if businesses want to raise a flag, I'm more than happy to support that. But I think on municipal-owned property, I think it should be country, province, city. And so if I can just get some clarification, I'd be interested. Thank you.
Through the chair to Councillor Goodenough, in the report, and I believe in the motion as well, it's the month of June. In the past, we have done Pride Day. I believe it was, I want to say August 28th, but sometime in the end of August. But I think if I remember correctly, there was some conversation the last time this was brought forward, possibly by Councillor Wardrop, that other communities celebrate the whole month of June. So we're kind of aligning with what other communities celebrate the month instead of just one specific day.
Okay. Any other questions? Just, did you have one? Go ahead. No, I was going to just wrap it up here, but go, if you have one, go ahead. Yeah, Councillor Wardrop.
Just a comment, I guess. I guess maybe if I could ask for clarification, is it just the flag, or like if there was another gesture for the month of June on city property, it would be okay. And I would just like to say, I think that this is more important than ever at this point. We're seeing such an increase in really outward, very brazen hatred and bigotry towards people of the 2S LGBTQ+ community, and I think this is one way that we could show that that we're welcoming and safe, and that everybody in Brooks, regardless of how you identify, has a home here and they belong here.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Everyone should feel the right to make their home here, and we support everyone that would want to make this place their home. My point I'm just going with is that I think for government buildings is that it should be the three flags. It's the Canadian flag, the Alberta flag, and the city flag. If local businesses or in the past I recommend the Community Culture Center, if they choose to want to raise a flag, properties, homeowners, absolutely. So I'm not against that. I just think when it comes to municipal property, I think that there comes a place. And those are the flags that I believe that should be hanging up.
Yeah, and just to add something to that, I think this is worth a further discussion on that, and maybe we can, at some point in the future, maybe in the fall, talk about it at council committee there, because I think there's probably a little bit more to it than just the pride flag there too. So, but I think we should have a little bit more in-depth discussion than.
And sorry, just
yeah,
to
yeah.
follow up with her question, you know, in the past, the community, our welcoming and inclusive community, painted the sidewalk, which was, or sorry, the crosswalk, which is fine. No problems with those things. So just for me, my conviction is that I see our flags that we hang are government issued, government sanctioned, and I think that it's important to me. I'm a little disappointed too that, that's all I'll say to that one. Thank you.
Okay. But like I say, though, let's have a discussion with it further down the road. I think it's worth a bigger and longer discussion here, too. Okay, to the motion, all those in favor? Okay, and against? Yeah, okay. Okay, moved by Councillor Jessica that the City of Brooks notify the proponent and AUC of the need to make application for the development approval of the proposed solar farm, being specific on the needs as outlined in the report to council. Gavin, welcome, and welcome that you're in person today.
Yes, very good to be here, Mr. Mayor. Through the Chair to Mayor and Council, we have a report in front of you regarding the proposal by Pace Solar to move forward with a solar farm in the northwest corner of the community. This corner of the community has an area structure plan in place, and that area structure plan indicated that the land that they are seeking to place the solar farm on was considered low flow development area, so not necessarily the best for development, and as such, perhaps one of the better locations that this could occur within your boundaries. The applicant has had some open houses, as you're aware. Some of you may have attended those open houses, and that is part of the process that they need to engage the community. The portion that has not been defined yet for the applicant or yourselves is that portion which would include development. Development is certainly important, and the development process is important that you define that for them, what you want them to do, how you want it to be done. And this is exactly what is in my report. I want to set up you for success in however you choose to go with this proposal, but certainly from the point of view that there is another agency here that does have authority, that is the Alberta Utilities Commission. They certainly have the majority of the authority over this use. Yet, locally, you do have some options, and those options are to protect certain infrastructure uses that may be adjoining. There is residential uses adjoining this property. Appropriate setbacks can be set. There is a need to control stormwater. This site will produce stormwater. Anytime you put hard surface on there, you start deflecting water. Water will start to move. Where is it going to go? How is it going to affect the rest of the municipality? So what we're looking forward to in discussion with council is that we set out some parameters for you in what we envision as a public hearing on the development permit as it comes forward, but also guidance for the proponent to what you want to see in that application for approval. This land is zoned direct control, so that's a good thing. Currently in your land use bylaw, you don't have commercial solar as a use. That means it would be prohibited without the ability to have direct control, under your ability to give an approval. So direct control gives you the power to give them what they are asking for. It also gives you the ability to put on conditions as long as those conditions are not overlapping with the AUC. And so within this, I have put forward many suggested items that both on the application side, things that you would like to see them bring in with an application, so you have that information, as well as things that you might consider as conditions to condition an approval should you decide to move forward with this within your community. Any of these items that were put forward as far as conditions can be modified by council, as it is direct control. You can ask me whether or not a setback is an appropriate distance. You can vary that distance if you wish. You can change or modify those distances. So these are just recommendations. Staff has been put forward for you to consider. At the public hearing, I suggest that this be put out to the public to come in and have their say in front of you. So if you hadn't heard what happened at the open houses, you have the ability to hear directly from concerned citizens on this proposal. And that may guide you toward what you would consider an appropriate condition to be placed on the application. There is also the potential that you as a council decide that perhaps you don't want this in your community. That would be cause for me then to come back to you with reasons as to why you want to deny this, and be prepared at that meeting to provide reasons for the applicant. The applicant then would have the ability to appeal that decision if they so choose to the Land Property Rights Tribunal. It is not the case that should this application go forward that you still don't have the ability to ask the AUC to consider other things if should they come up after the fact. But at least it would get you out there in front of this application, things that may help the application be palatable to the citizenry and yourselves as councillors. So our recommendation this evening is to notify the proponent and the AUC of the need to make application for development approval for the proposed solar farm, being specific on the needs as outlined above. When a complete application has been received, set a public hearing date for the council review. Following the public hearing, council shall decide upon the conditions of the direct control permit and approve the permit, directing staff to issue it to PACE and the AUC. If you have questions, I'm willing to answer them.
Okay, any questions? Councillor Jessica.
Thanks, Gavin. Yeah, I attended both of the public meetings on this project, and you've covered some of the main primary concerns that were brought up there, or at least brought them into the picture. So things like the fire control was an issue, erosion control was an issue, setbacks and screening were certainly an issue. So now there's a project within the Strathmore municipal boundaries going ahead, apparently. Did you have any input or involvement with that particular project, and is it reflected in some of the setbacks here?
I have not looked at that particular one. Is it new? So I certainly can go through the AUC's website and review everything they've done with that one, and have a look as to whether there's more information there that we should bring to. I as well can bring more information to the public hearing if I have something to add. And a report would be coming forward for that meeting if there's more things to add. So I'll have a look at that one specifically. Certainly there are things that go on perhaps differently in a rural. Some of these setbacks are borrowed from the rurals and what the rurals are doing. Outside your boundary, you do have a solar farm. You can see that it is fenced with chain link fence. That is typical. That is how they do these things. So part of what the city may have considered, or the city may consider, is just a visual. What's that going to look like for neighbors? Chain link at times feels industrial. So maybe a buffer in between the chain link and the houses itself. That's something that could be looked at as far as your consideration.
Go ahead, Alan. Yeah.
Thank you. I have an interesting question. So let's say we do this, we have a public hearing, and you know, there's a lot of people opposed, or council just decides, no, we're not going to issue this development permit. The AUC can still say it's a go, correct? And if they do, does that mean all these setbacks are out the window? Or?
Yeah, so that's a very good question, Alan, and I'll answer it this way. It is true that if you put forward a denial, that is your stance. But the AUC could be encouraged to have a hearing on this, and they may. That is something that they would consider if it comes around to, well, what are you going to do? The city could still submit, even though we denied it, our conditions still stand. We'd like to see these things implemented through the AUC. Now, the AUC doesn't have to pick them up because your denial is on record. It could be a request of the applicant to honor these things to see if you can't get a better result for the citizenry and ask the AUC to try to get that done. So these are complicated processes and not necessarily fully under the understanding of what perhaps you're doing locally on the approval side of things. The zoning is one. Direct control is a good thing. We're not going through a zoning process. The AUC, through Section 619 of the Act, can force the zoning through the Land and Property Rights Tribunal. So it's good that we're not going through a fight on zoning. Some municipalities do use zoning to identify whether or not the public is in favor of the property, and then you go through a fight through the Land and Property Rights Tribunal to get it in place, and normally, yes, it's going in place, irregardless of your desire not to have it go forward. So I think the AUC really just wants to make sure that whatever you decide, that in the end the project is best suited to the proponent, yourselves as a community, and the AUC's overall overarching idea that they need to have this much solar in Alberta.
I'm curious on, I think these are fairly uncommon for urban settings. I think Strathmore has one. I don't know if Airdrie, or there's one close to Airdrie there. I think Edmonton put one in along the river banks, but I don't know if those are sort of hidden among the trees there. But I think the aesthetics in an urban center would certainly be different than what they are in the rural, the requirements. I look at, okay, are we able to plant trees around there to hide it? And if we do have trees, and we talked about this before, can we water them? And the second part of the question, you were talking about water. How do we know, is it our engineers that kind of figure out where that water is going to flow without, flooding certain areas of the community?
Yeah, so I'll ask the last question first, and I'll try to backtrack.
Yeah.
The stormwater management plan is a normal process in planning. That process does go through your staff and an engineer review. So they would put forward an engineering plan for your staff to review, and when that review is done, there can be recommendations to fix that or the other thing, and work back and forth to get it done the way that you want to see it. Now, to think back to your other questions.
Oh, no,
here.
just about solar farms in urban
Yeah, in urban
centers,
areas.
yeah.
So, as Councillor Jessica has, Saskatchewan pronounces it so different. So, just as suggested, if there is one inside an urban, we would like to see what that looks like. Just locally, though, in Castles, there was an approval there where trees were meant to buffer from the residences across the road. So they did implement that as a condition on that permit. It is questionable how you keep them alive in this climate. So that's certainly part of your consideration, that if you want trees, you better include the watering of those trees to make sure that they have that ability to live the life cycle of this solar farm. The life cycle being 35 years. Now, I wouldn't necessarily say that they have to buy large trees all at once, although the citizens would like to see that. There has to be some kind of compromise there, because we can't bring in 30-foot trees right off the hop.
Right.
So there is some planning there to be done, and some of that is there are trees that do start fairly quickly, then they die off quickly as the larger trees mature and come in. So there's an ability there to think about how you want to approach that. Was that all your question?
Yeah, no, yeah,
certainly the urban.
Yeah, that explained it. The other one too, and we often see this in along fences in our community, is where the litter does collect, and you don't, whether it's coming in what direction the litter, and I guess it would be up to our bylaw officers to. I just want to make sure that I would want to make sure the company is cleaning it up and not us cleaning it up, because if you do have a fence there, you're going to get litter there. So.
Yes, and as you notice, I did put that as a condition, and as a condition, development, the development side of the community can get the enforcement done. It likely they will have workers on site, so there'll be somebody coming around every so often. You would expect that gets cleaned up at least 2-3 times a year. So, as well as tumbleweeds and those things, they do collect against chain link, and that needs to be addressed.
Okay, any other questions? Councillor Woodrup?
Unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend the public hearing there. I was wondering if anyone who attended, or if, Gavin, there was any other, any other conditions that may be considered that aren't included on the list here. because I really like the trees, the litter, all of those things are great. Anything that we're missing?
Yeah, I did not attend, so I'd have to look to those that did as to what
No,
they
actually,
heard.
they covered them pretty well, like, you know, the fire plan was one of the things that came out of nowhere, but they were concerned about, if there wasn't a fire, smoke, whether there be toxicity associated with the smoke from, burning solar panels and things like that. The vegetation management was certainly a concern, for weeds and everything, so, I'll review my notes again, but, it looks fairly comprehensive.
And when it comes to fire, you do need to liaison with your fire department. There are many municipalities that will refuse to fight a fire inside these things because that they are electrified, and you need it shut off before you get in there and start doing anything. And that comes back to the ground cover question about them wanting to put ground cover down. Certainly it shouldn't be grass. That would be something that would be a little scary if a grass fire did take off in the fall or in the spring, heading towards homes. That's something to consider when you're thinking about what type of ground cover, and quizzing the applicant when they come forward with those details at the time of application. Certainly, the ground covers that I've seen in one of the aerials from Claire's home, where they've put sheep in there to actually cut that down, you'll notice certainly that on the slopes of the panels, the grass is growing great right underneath that drip edge, but not necessarily on the shady side of the solar panel, where it gets eaten down pretty quick by the animals if they're in there. So that's something to consider as to what they're going to say as far as what that planting is and how that planting is going to get done.
Councillor Prentice, did you have a question?
Yeah, I guess I don't think planting trees is gonna solve the problem from hiding those things anyway to start with. You drive down the highway where these things are, and you've got a glare from every direction there is, no matter if you're a mile away, 2 miles away. My personal feelings is it shouldn't be put in the city of Brooks, period. It's going to take away the landscape of the whole city. It's there forever. There's going to be lots of development farther to the south of us there. And I just think it's not the proper thing. It'd be nice to get the taxes, but I just think the location is absolutely wrong. We're surrounded by feedlots on one side, and put this great big solar panel, and you'll see it shining from every direction, wherever you drive. So myself, I'm not even interested.
Yeah, certainly that's where I'm interested in the case that has been put forward this evening about Strathcona, was it, that perhaps has one in their boundaries, to see how to mitigate it. A berm is another option, but berms don't often look good either. Separation distance helps. That's one thing. Visually, it's not on top of you. If you own a home in the vicinity, that some kind of buffer gives you a visual relief in the interim. And from the point of view of denial, that is something that council certainly has is an option, that if it isn't right for your community, there's a rationale for you to say so, taxes being set aside. The AUC will do what they will. So certainly that's something, if you have good sound planning reasons as to why this should not be in this community, as we have had in other municipalities where they've tried to put it in the fringe areas of the community. So those areas just outside the urban center, that may be a growth area, it may not be a growth area, but there's planning documents that may be in place that says that this isn't the appropriate place. So this is a weighty decision. I don't think you should take it lightly, and I'm glad that you've put that out there for the rest of the council to consider as to whether this is the appropriate location.
Okay, thanks. Well, there's no way you're going to hide it, that's for sure, no matter what you plant, so.
Councillor Goodenough?
Thank you for your report. I'm just curious on I understand this is about the, sorry, I'm scrolling up here. The salt flat solar and encompassing maybe future projects that would come. Is there a difference though between these types of solar farms versus if people want to start putting solar panels on their homes? Is there permits that need to be applied for? Because I don't think that's going to go away. And so I'm wanting to know if we should be including that in here.
Yeah, so that is a vastly different thing. Those are already in your land use bylaw. So you as a homeowner or a business owner can go forward to the development authority in the community, which is the development officer, MPC, and seek those approvals through the normal permitting process. And there really are encouraged in the land use bylaw. Early on, when everybody was thinking that they're the 1970 ones that shine, the shine is gone off these things. They're very dull in their color. They don't affect the adjacent landowner and property owners much, especially if they're roof mounted. That's out of sight, out of mind kind of thing. The backyard standing ones do have an effect because they tend to be a little taller. That's where we may be on the discretionary side of things. So there is a distinction there. This commercial grade solar stuff is massive, and it's you can tell by the size of the parcel of land that it is a vastly different thing than the household type.
Councillor Jessica?
Yeah, so you referred to sheep, so was one of the interesting things about the Strathmore project is that's, I think it's 300 or 500 sheep are going to be grazing there to control the vegetation. And the glare was brought up during the public meetings, and they do have to, that's part of their proposal is a glare study, but you were saying about being dull, these things use light energy, so the idea is not to reflect the light energy, the idea is to absorb the light energy. So it's not like the light shining off of a tin roof. The glare is not really, in normal circumstances, glare is not really an issue. In residential circumstances, that remains to be seen.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, Councillor Woodrup?
Just kind of a follow-up about the topic of fire. Unfortunately, wildfires, like out-of-control fires, are kind of top of mind right now. I didn't really consider the fire risk and the idea that maybe our firefighters wouldn't be able to go in and deal with that. What's the actual risk? Is it a risky situation? I haven't heard of fire being associated with solar panels, and if that was the case, would our municipal fire department be able to deal with that?
Yeah, we've not, as planners in the industry, windmills catch on fire. They start massive grass fires. But we've not seen a solar farm actually ignite the fire. It's more likely that the grass fire would be lit on another means, whether that's a passerby, lightning strike, or that kind of thing. So that fence line is important because of what would collect in it, and then the type of ground cover that they're putting down, whether or not it has the ability to not burn as quickly. Like I said, if it was just natural grass, I think it would burn very quickly. So I'm interested to see what they bring back in their, hopefully council has seen their submittal. This document certainly does say that they're working towards a solution on what to do as far as ground cover and whether or not they'll have animals in there to keep that ground cover down so that it isn't growing up and then making that potential for fire higher. It is, I think, a good idea that you do liaison with fire staff to see if they have an opinion on this. If they were being asked to come in there, what would that look like? Would they need drivability down the rows to get to the fire? All those things, because the rows will be set by the developer, and he may not consider what your equipment size is should you need to get in there.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, to the motion, all those in favor? Those against? Okay. Thank you very much for your time this afternoon. Okay, moved by Councillor Nesbitt that council approve of proceeding with the design of the skateboard park at the current location. Alicia.
Thank you, through the chair to mayor and council. In the 2023 budget, council approved the design of the skateboard park in 2023 to replace the existing park due to its deteriorating status. In August of 2022, staff brought a report to council committee and provided a preliminary site selection report prepared by New Line Skate Parks. A copy of that report is attached for council's reference. Since that time, council has decided to develop the old rodeo grounds as a sports field, and the McKay Park location is being further developed with additional amenities. Due to these changes, staff has attached two preliminary design visions for the new skateboard park. one at the park's current location and one located at the existing soccer field at Duke of Sutherland Park. Before proceeding with the request for proposal for the design of the new park, the location of the park needs to be selected. When the report was initially brought to the Recreation and Parks Board, there was a consensus that the soccer field at the Duke of Sutherland Park was frequently utilized by the public. Therefore, staff recommends proceeding with the design of the skate park at the current location.
Okay, any questions? Councillor Woodruff?
I know this is a little premature, but is there an estimate in terms of cost, like what would cost more developing at the current site or developing at the Duke of Sutherland?
Through the chair to Councillor Wardrop, we don't have costs. We do know that there could be more geotechnical work required at the existing site, but without actually doing the studies to look at that, we can't confirm the costs associated with it.
Well, I think the cost would be a significant factor in terms of where we decide to develop. What would a study entail in terms of cost?
I can't come up with a number right off the top of my head. We'd have to look into what geotechnical work would be required before even coming up with a design. And then the other question is because our existing park is on it already, what work would need to be done and what things would need to be done to the existing skate park to be able to do the geotechnical testing to do the design.
So there's no estimate in terms of like what it would cost or time that would take to get that kind of information?
Not at this point. We could go out to get a cost for something like that. I just don't have a number off the top of my head for that.
I don't want to unnecessarily delay anything, because like this would be great to get going. But if one costs significantly more than the other, I think that would be important to know. I think that could make or break a certain decision. I really like the look of the design at the current I like the idea, for the record. I really like developing at the current location. My only hesitation is, what if it's a lot of money, right? What if it's a lot more money than we anticipated, and we could spend less money if we moved it to a different space? So I hesitate a bit there.
Yeah, Councillor Goodenough.
Have we set budgets yet for this? For the project as a whole, whether it was any location?
Through the chair to Councillor Goodenough, we have a budget this year to proceed with the design that was approved as part of our budget process.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
So, and just to clarify, skate park and the bike park. Now, are we talking two separate things, or are we talking about the same thing here?
No, through the chair to Mayor Petrie, it will encompass a jump track as part of the actual skate park. So it would encompass both.
Okay.
If you look at some of the plans that they have done, they show the skate park and then pump track. So the pump track is the part that's utilized by bikes, and then the skate parks themselves can be utilized by bikes as well, but the pump track is specifically toward cyclists.
And again, a clarification there. Was our intent to build a new skateboard park there? I can't remember on that. Because I think the existing one got fixed, and, I mean, eventually we probably do need one.
It is in the 10-year capital plan. And then I believe our recommendation in the 10-year capital plan was to not necessarily move forward with the design and replacement because we had done some work, but it was decided through the budget process that this year we would proceed with the design for it.
Yeah, I think our urgency seemed to be the pump track. Yeah. Which which would be built beside it. You could have that one built, and then down the road, if we need a new skateboard park, we could build that, right?
That wasn't the direction that we got
Oh, no,
through.
okay, so okay, clarify the direction is to build,
So it was to design the skateboard park
Park.
and pump track, both.
And then come up
Along
with a
with
price
the,
then.
with I believe it was with the sports court as well.
Okay.
So it was to do a complete design for all three of those parts.
Okay.
And then to proceed with actual construction when it falls in the 10-year capital.
okay, and the debate today is the location of it there.
That's correct.
So,
Yeah.
okay, I'm fine with location. I think the location's good. I think there's a lot of space there, but we can debate on that there. Okay, Councillor Jessica there.
So they did the rating system here, and I'm just making sure I didn't miss something on that. But they rated the 3 other sites, and Duke of Sutherland came out quite a bit higher. Do we have any idea how this site would rate compared to those other ones?
I think at the time when this site selection report was done, it wasn't intended to go back to the existing site because the current park has issues, they figure because of geotechnical concerns. So that was the reason for the locations, and Don was involved more in the initial discussions with New Line about what sites were picked, and I know he went around town, and McKay Park and Duke of Sutherland were both kind of came from New Line as potential locations. And then we also incorporated the old rodeo grounds because we had talked about potentially having that. So that was the reason for the 3 initial sites that were studied.
Okay. Any other questions? Councillor Woodrup?
Like, again, I don't want to delay this, but I think for me, until I see just a ballpark cost about on what each location would cost, even if we were just to pick like the current location and the Duke of Sutherland, because obviously we can't do McKay Park, until we know generally how much that would cost, I don't feel comfortable choosing a site. I don't know what you guys think.
Councillor Jessica?
Well, so the Duke of Sutherland came out on top so far as rating, but that does mean the elimination of a soccer field, and it didn't sound like that was very acceptable.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Go, yeah, we can take it to the vote and then see what happens on that. Yeah, okay. Okay, moved by Councillor Nesbitt that council approve the proceeding with the design of the skateboard park at its current location. All those in favor? Those opposed? Okay, carried. Okay. Moved by Councillor Woodrup that council approve the Grasslands Public Schools student pickup and drop-off location at the Centennial Regional Arena. Natasha.
Through the chair to mayor and council, Grasslands Public School has requested a school bus pickup and drop-off location for students at the Centennial Regional Arena for the 2023-2024 school year. The location would provide an area for parents to meet the school bus, which would provide transportation to the students from the City of Brooks or Lake Newell Resort to Alcoma School and back. Grasslands Public Schools are anticipating a 7:50 a.m. pickup time and a 3:30 p.m. drop-off time, with the location in the southeast corner of the CRA parking lot. Please note that these times are outside of peak hours for the CRA, and the selected location is away from the main doors, therefore would not interfere with city operations or public use of the CRA. Attached for council's information is an email from Grasslands Public School Superintendent Scott Brandt that provides a map of the proposed pickup location. Therefore, administration recommends that council approve the Grasslands Public School student pickup and drop-off location at the Centennial Regional Arena.
Okay, any questions? I don't see a problem with this one, especially at the time periods, whatever, early in the morning, afternoon. I don't think there'd be a problem for anybody there.
I think it's great.
Yeah. Council, good enough.
So I'm just trying to figure out what students would be being picked up and dropped off out there? Like, are these farm kids or?
I'll explain.
Go for
Sorry,
it.
Natasha.
No
there.
worries.
Okay, Grasslands is trying to pick up the enrollments in the rural schools, like maybe Rainier or Rolling Hills and GEM. So the idea of what they're marketing right now is if you're not happy with your, maybe a bigger school in the city, you can send your kids to a smaller school, and they'll pay the transportation out to these rural areas there. And I think I mentioned Rainier, but it might be out to Dutchess too, and it might be out to Tilly there too, whatever. But that's the premise or the thinking behind it, so. Alan?
Yeah, through the Chair to Mayor and Council, and they say this is still tentative, depending on how many people are interested in going to the Alcoma School.
No. Okay, to the motion. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, moved by Councillor Jessica that Madonna Tonelli be appointed to the City of Brooks Environmental Advisory Committee as a City of Brooks Citizen-at-Large member for a first 3-year term commencing June 6, 2023 and ending June 5th, 2026. Amy.
Thank you through the chair to mayor and council. Eco Brooks is made up of 12 members in accordance with bylaw 2306. Out of the 12 members, not more than 7 may be citizen-at-large members, with a maximum of 2 residing outside of the city, but within the boundaries of the County of Newell. The committee received an application from Madonna Tennille to serve on the committee and are recommending that she be appointed. Madonna Tennille owned and operated Earthy Eats and Specialty Teas and received the Eco Brooks 2020 Sustainable Business Award. She has knowledge in herbs, planting plants, and food preparation. She is community-minded and has experience serving on other boards and committees as well as volunteering. Therefore, administration is recommending that Madonna Tennille be appointed to the City of Brooks Environmental Advisory Committee as a City of Brooks Citizen-at-Large member for a first 3-year term, commencing June 6, 2023 and ending June 5, 2026.
Any questions? To the motion, all those in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Prentice that council cancel the following meetings. Council committee meeting scheduled for July 11th, 2023 at 4:30. Council meeting scheduled for July 17th, 2023 at 4:30 p.m. Council committee meeting scheduled for July 25th, 2023 at 4:30. Council committee scheduled for August 8th, 2023 at 4:30 p.m. Council committee meeting scheduled for August 15th, 2023 at 4:30 p.m. Alan.
Thank you through the Chair to Mayor and Council. This year is just flying by again. It's hard to believe that we're looking at our summer schedule again as we do every year, and our recommendation is that we cancel the meetings that Mayor Petrie just read in the motion.
This is something we do annually, though, almost every summer. I think they've been doing that for years and years there, too. Okay, to the motion. All those in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Wardrop that council formally approve the provision of office space to the Brooks and District Chamber of Commerce at no charge. Lisa.
Thank you. Through the chair to mayor and council, executive members of the Brooks and District Chamber of Commerce recently approached City of Brooks seeking support while they face a difficult financial situation. The concept of having the City of Brooks provide office space in close proximity to our economic development team was proposed and many merits discussed. The arrangement would include access to an office space as needed, possibly every day, but more likely just on certain days, and potentially meeting space if they desire it, such as access to boardrooms like the Hayes Room. Their staff person, who would include just their executive director, would not have access to city technologies such as our phone system, our internal networks and servers, or a computer, and we would not be providing administrative support at this time, other than perhaps just the receptionist letting them know when their clients or members have arrived for meetings. The executive director of the chamber would not be supervised by city staff and would remain an independent entity, and their autonomy as a chamber of commerce would not be diminished, and they'd continue to fulfill their natural roles. Staff believes that due to the close nature of the work done by both the Chamber of Commerce and the Brooks Newell Region Economic Development Team, that this is actually a really good opportunity to better collaborate. I would hope that it could improve our communications, enhance cooperations, provide some clarity on certain projects that both organizations are working on, reduce duplication, and more advantages. We've seen the same sort of arrangement in place when Community Futures Entrecourt had a staff person operating out of City Hall, and there are numerous benefits to that, as well as when Brooks Region Tourism has their executive director operating within our economic development team. The office space would be provided at no charge, and we don't expect there'd be any substantial costs incurred as a result of their presence. So we do have some vacant space available and it could be utilized for this purpose. So it's staff's recommendation that council formally approve the provision of office space to the Brooks and District Chamber of Commerce at no charge. And if you have any questions, please let me know.
Okay, any questions? Councillor Nesbitt.
I was just wondering if there'd be a contract on a yearly basis, or they may decide down the road that they want to move, or we may decide that we don't really want them here. Is there going to be some formality in that respect?
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Nesbitt, if approved by council, staff will move forward with drafting an agreement to be signed by the two parties, and a length of term could definitely be added to that agreement, whether we make it 1 year or 2 years.
Thank you.
Okay, Alan.
Thank you. Through the chair to Councillor Nesbitt, and further to what Lisa says in there, we would have a clause where we would be able to terminate that contract anytime we wished within giving notice to.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. To the motion, all those in favor? Oh, sorry. Yeah, okay. Councillor Wardrop.
Sorry. I just want to ask, is there any reason at all that this could be problematic, or I guess, like, when we draft the agreement, are there any issues that may come up or that people may ask about?
Through the chair to Councillor Wardrop, I see a lot of opportunity for us to work closer together. I know that when, at the time, they went by the Newell Regional Tourism Association, the NRTA, they were also facing a pretty difficult situation back in 2016, 2017-ish. And when we brought them kind of like under the general umbrella of economic development, we saw a number of really good opportunities for synergy and collaboration. So we've seen some positive results there. With the Chamber of Commerce, this will still be their employee. They'll have full autonomy of whom they hire. So one potential opportunity would be just that the personality clash, but we work well with so many of our external stakeholders, and we always have worked really well with the Chamber of Commerce that I don't really foresee that being a large problem. The same could be said for with Community Futures Entrecourt. They have full autonomy of whom they hire, and we've worked really, really well with their staff in the past, so I don't really see many obstacles.
Thank you.
Yeah, so precedent has been set. I forgot about Community Futures and the NRTA, so it has been set in the past there too. So, okay. Any other questions? Okay, to the motion, all those in favor? Carried. Okay, moved by Councillor Prentice that council appoint Alicia Bartlett, Jack Shipton, and Mark Brandt as development officers pursuant to Part 2, Section 14.2 of the Land Use Bylaw 1412, and that council appoint Alicia Bartlett as a license inspector pursuant to Section 880 of the Business License Bylaw 2303. Alan.
Thank you. Through the chair to mayor and council. We are required to appoint development officers through the land use bylaw, and I think they're called inspectors actually, through the business license bylaw. We're a little short-staffed right now, so in the interim period, we are contracting with Old Man River Regional Services Commission, who I'll assign Jack Shipton, and I'm going to assume that we have Jack in the, oh, we don't. Oh, you fooled us. Okay. Thought maybe we'd have Jack here with us, but I'm wrong. They're going to help develop development-related items. Alicia's also going to do that, and she's going to be processing business licenses. For enforcement purposes, in the past, we've also appointed our CPOs as development officers, and Mark has yet to be appointed, and therefore, our recommendation is that council appoint Alicia Bartlett, Jack Shipton, and Mark Brandt as development officers pursuant to the land use bylaw, and that we appoint Alicia Bartlett as inspector pursuant to the business license bylaw.
Okay, any questions? Okay, to the motion, all those in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Nesbitt that bylaw 2312 being a bylaw of the City of Brooks in the province of Alberta to amend bylaw number 2305. Oh, just wait a minute. My apologies. Yeah, I did. Yeah. Amy's not sleeping at all. Okay, this is, from the beginning, graffiti. Okay, who's taking this one here?
John.
John, this was, you wanted this brought up here, graffiti. Council Nesbitt there, yeah, sorry.
We've had great concern in the community about the paintings on all the buildings in this community. And it seems like some people have taken it upon themselves to cover it up. The person that did all this damage is not willing to correct his errors. And I'm wondering, because of what's happening with the senior games in August, whether or not we should have another plan. If we even have to hire somebody to get rid of the worst graffiti, or I'm at a loss myself. If I had a business that had graffiti on it, I would be out there myself cleaning it up. But it seems that it's improbable that the offender is not going to do it. And I'm kind of wondering what we could do before these games do start in the middle of August. Because it is an eyesore in this community, in some respects.
Yeah, I agree with you, because we talk about, you know, with all these people coming into the community, it'd be nice to have it cleaned up here, but okay, so, Councilor Jessica.
I think as far as on municipal buildings and structures, we're in pretty good shape, but there are some private ones. One that comes to mind is the apartments just south of the long-term care part of the hospital. There's a pretty prominent statement on the brick there. Now, the radio station had great success in removing it from their building using something called elephant snot, and I think the city was going to get some of that at the time when they thought, at the time that they thought that the perpetrator would be required to do the cleanup work, and so there may even be 5 gallons available through the city that we could encourage these people to access to get that off of there. Other than that, I guess the only other option would be to, or one other option would be to approach the police and find out why nothing was done, because I understand there was a warrant out for him for non-compliance, and that doesn't seem to have gone anywhere, so there may still be an opportunity to force some compliance on that.
Yeah, I think we can take the initiative, like on a private property, I mean, if they're not able to do it, maybe offer some assistance to do that. I think that would be the way to do it, right? You know, like you talk about that apartment building, like approach them, say, you know, like we would like it cleaned up, or we'll help you clean it up, but yeah.
You know, it sounded like it just took this particular material that worked very well in a pressure washer,
Yeah.
and it took it off of porous surfaces very well.
Yeah, yeah. Did you want
I think another place is over by the Donaire shop on Dance Studio. I think there's one there
Yeah.
as well. So
Yeah.
there are a few left around the city.
Yeah, yeah. Council, good enough?
Not that I'd want to put more work on Phil's team with Parks and Rec, but maybe, I do believe we have summer students at work. Maybe we could allocate some of them to be a part of that cleanup, just as a suggestion. I know he's taxed for time
Yeah.
on what he has, but just a thought.
Alan?
Thank you. Whoops. Forgot to turn it off. I'm thinking we might be able to assist on giving them products, but, you know, for our staff to go and work on their private dwellings, I'd be a little concerned about that. I reached out to Staff Sergeant Yetman today. I don't know if he's back yet, but I could reach out to the individual filling in for him as well, just to see where they are with that cleanup and when it's going to happen. But yeah, if there's the graffiti out there, we can approach them, and if we have the elephant snot, if that's the technical term for it, I don't know, but we could offer some of that too.
Okay, yeah, yeah, you bring up a good point. I mean, we don't want to be going into private property, but if we offer them, yeah, the elephant snot, whatever, they can do it themselves. We're a bunch of little kids. Yeah. Okay, anything else there? Okay, do we have a resolution or like a plan then to do that then?
I think we can take that as direction
Yeah.
as well, and we can look too if we think some of this is unsightly, if we can do anything that way, but of course, try to help them if we've got a product that we can give them.
Okay,
Well, sorry, the one I was concerned about was the one on the old terrace, or not terrace, that one down by the high school, because the parade goes right down there,
yeah.
you know, and everybody's gonna see that. but it's on, you know, it's a privately owned rental apartment, and if I went over there and made it worse,
Right.
you know, and so that's why I've been, you know, I've had cleaned up some spots that were white, with just regular white paint, but I don't want to get myself in trouble by making it worse.
Right.
Or Marissa will, though.
Okay, Councillor Wardrop.
And I could be wrong, but I think that one is actually just recently fixed up. The one by the long-term care, like kind of the orangey apartments there. I want to say yes, but I'm not 100% sure. But the one that I think of that I see still consistently is on Sutherland Drive. When you're going past the 7-Eleven on your right-hand side, you can see Sunrise School, and there's that big cement block, kind of on people's private property there. That's in the alley. That is quite. You can see it really clearly, and lots of people drive by that place. But whoever's listening, drive by the on 4th there by the long-term care. I'm not sure if I'm right or wrong, but I think that one is finally cleaned up.
Okay, good, thanks. Okay, we got direction on this one to proceed on that, so, okay. Okay, moved by Councillor Nesbitt that bylaw number 2312 being a bylaw of the City of Brooks in the province of Alberta to amend bylaw number 2305 being a bylaw to establish rates to be charged in relation to fire prevention, inspection, suppression, and rescue services be introduced and read a first time. Amy.
Thank you. Through the chair to mayor and council. Council approved bylaw 2305, the fire service fees bylaw, on March 20th of this year. At this time, the fees were updated to align with the County of Newell and Alberta transportation rates. The province increased their fees shortly after, effective April 1st, and the city's fees are being updated to reflect the changes. Fees for engines, pumpers, and/or rescue units, bush buggies, rapid response units, and tenders, mobile water supply units have been increased from $650 per unit per hour to $700 per unit per hour. And command units have increased from $190 per unit per hour to $205 per unit per hour. Therefore, administration is recommending that council provide 3 readings and adopt this bylaw.
Okay, to the motion, all those in favor? Carried. Okay, moved by Councillor Jessica that bylaw number 2312 be read a second time. Any questions? Okay, to the motion, all those in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Wardrop that bylaw number 2312 be given 3 readings at this meeting, has to be carried unanimously. All those in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Goodenough that bylaw number 2312 being a bylaw of the City of Brooks in the province of Alberta to amend bylaw 2305 being a bylaw to establish rates to be charged in relation to fire prevention, inspection, suppression, and rescue services be read a third time and adopted. Any questions? All those in favor? Carried. Moved by I don't know if Sandra's on there. Sandra's not on there. Okay. Moved by Councillor Nesbitt, the council closed the meeting to the public for agenda item 9A, personnel, as per section 16 of FOIP at 5:52 p.m. All those in favor? Carried.